Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to, well, another episode of Modern Warzone Weekly podcast. This is episode 11. I am GrandmasterGojj, joined by the one and only Modern Warzone Dagnabbit. Doug, Halloween event, spooky magoop. That's weird. What'd you think about the Halloween event? Let's get started immediately with the Halloween event because it is top of mind. There's ghosts everywhere. People are freaking out. What are we thinking, Doug?
Let's go through it and kind of break it down step by step what it is, just in case people. I can't believe how many people didn't play last year's Halloween event, but basically this year's Halloween event is a twist on Zombie Royale from last year. Last year's Zombie Royale, it featured when you died, you got to come back and you had to kill, I think it was 2 people and grab something off of them to drop back in. This year's, they swapped out that with instead of being a zombie, now you're a ghost. And you also have a new teleport ability, which it makes it way too easy to kill people. I'm going to be honest, because this year's has a new mechanic to where instead of having to go collect those souls like you used to last year, you can just, as long as you execute someone or do a finishing move on them as a ghost, you come back in immediately.
Okay.
And I've done it at the very end of a game with only 2 squads left to win by just parachuting in. So that's it's a good thing. I actually welcome that change. Other than that, there's not a whole lot changed on the map. It's nighttime Verdansk, of course. It just looks a lot different than last year's nighttime Verdansk, in my opinion. Last year's, all the buildings were lit up and stuff. It had this real spooky vibe. This year, of course, there's candles and stuff. And but that's about it. You know, we got the Scream. Donnie Darko's coming on October 24th, which is a very old movie. Most of you probably haven't seen or heard of it, but
yeah, unless you're old like me.
Yeah, the app. I want to talk first and foremost about the atmosphere of this year's event, and I just feel that it is lacking. I feel like last year's event with all the ghosts, like to start the podcast, you mentioned the ghost.
Yeah.
Last year's event, there were ghosts everywhere. Like if you went to farmland, you could find the Leatherface ghost and hear chainsaws and stuff. If you went up by the dam, there was blood dripping from a ceiling, from the floor to the ceiling, which was crazy. There was ghosts all over the place, randomly popping up, random audio cues.
Yeah.
And, this year we're missing all of that atmosphere, and I think the main reason for that is because since the enemies are ghosts, you can't just throw those same ghost animations throughout the map. It would confuse people.
But to stop you for a second, what do you think? Like what do you think? I don't know. The point I wanted to make and like ask you in particular, because I know you played a decent bit of it, and I know a lot of people in the stream and in the Twitter space and maybe listening to the podcast probably spent some time playing this game mode because everyone agreed last year's was fun, but I felt like it was almost like a reskin of last year's event, except it was ghosts instead of zombies. And like you said, it wasn't quite as like spooky and scary and dark and ominous. Like, did you feel like it was the same type of event, or did they try to do something brand new and kind of, you feel like they flopped a little bit?
It's literally the same thing, just with a couple twists and quirks thrown in it to make it more horror-ish. I hadn't got to that part yet, but let's go ahead and let's just dive right into the issues with it. I'm gonna overall on Twitter, I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I'm gonna cut you off. I don't often do this. 7 out of 10. I like that. Let's very briefly describe at a basic level what it is first, because I think it can be somewhat helpful for some people that haven't played it or maybe didn't play the zombies version. What exactly do you do in this game mode?
You dive in. You pretty much play normal Warzone. If you die, you have to come back as a ghost, and you have a constant UAV, and also people show up for you in your ghost vision, almost like you have a thermal sight.
Yeah.
It makes it incredibly easy to find people, to see people. The ghost has a new ability this year that the zombies didn't last year, which is teleport. It sends you about 10 meters forward, and it even sends you through the people's bodies. So you can, if a guy's shooting at you, I mean, I had the clip on my Twitter of me just absolutely breaking a guy's ankles with it. Other than that, I mean, you pretty much, it's just the normal game.
Right.
The new thing about it is the fear meter. There is a fear meter now, and it goes up every time you see a dead body, every time you camp in a location for a while, which we're going to talk about that in a minute, and also every single time that you get shot by a human, it goes up. And when it gets full or 3/4 full, you start to experience hallucinations. And by hallucinations, I mean extremely annoying graphics that take over your entire screen. And while they seem kind of cool at first, They range from an alert that pops up and tells you that you're being disconnected from the server, as well as spiders crawling all over your screen, as well as bullets flying, as well as one of them even mimics hit markers. Like you experience it as if you've been shot and there are hit markers going off. But the main thing about this mode is that the only way to be safe from the ghost, which honestly they're a joke, you can kill them in 2 hits with Cali sticks. It takes them 5 hits to kill you. We're going to get into that when we hit the review section.
Sure.
As you can see on the video right now, this is Iceman Isaac, courtesy, shout out Iceman. He is in one of these sacred zones I'm talking about. And the ghost actually cannot get in there. Yeah. There's no way they can get in there. They have to throw themselves repeatedly at the wall for it to block it. Or to break it, and it damages the ghost in the process. So what really happens is the ghost end up just completely avoiding these zones. Campers sit in these zones because they reduce your fear, and you end up with the game mode seems like it wants to stop you from camping, but really it's promoting it.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Yeah, I'm seeing this like big ol' ghost.
Yeah.
This is the fear meter thing, right, that you were talking about, correct?
Yes, it's at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah,
and his is 3/4 full, and you see he takes 2 or 3 bullets right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
He takes 2 or 3 bullets, and it goes from 3/4 full to all the way full. As soon as it hits all the way full, you get hit with one of these hallucinations, which this one looks like a freaking RuneScape model with a crown on it. He's got a sock on his head. Isaac is not pleased, and it just takes over your whole screen. It's completely RNG. There's nothing you can do. He's actually in the zone that is meant to reduce your fear, and he still lost this gunfight because he was unable to even take part in it.
Right.
Now, one thing you'll notice is when that hallucination happens, 25% of your meter goes down, or it may even be 50%. It sends you back so that you're not hit with them repeatedly. But as you just saw, he only took 2 or 3 bullets from an enemy right after killing one, which is supposed to lower your fear, and it threw him from normal to all the way to where he has freaking sock face coming at him.
Dude, it does. If you guys are listening to the podcast, just think of it this way. Think of like if you guys have been playing, if you played RuneScape back in the day, it pretty much, I mean, this is Twitter quality to be fair, but it pretty much looks like one of the like zombie kings from RuneScape and some of the missions you would used to do, or maybe you're a little bit younger and you're more hip and you play New World. It looks like some of the like cursed, skelly kings that you fight. The ones with the big scepters and stuff. Like it's comedy. And there's a lot of other hallucinations that have happened. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff, like you mentioned, Doug. We've seen some wild videos. And I do know, I will give them a bit of credit. They did actually come out with I believe, a patch / maybe update today that reduced the overall amount of fear you get per event that would theoretically cause fear to max out your meter. Apparently, it's a little bit longer to max that out now. I don't know exactly. I haven't played since they made that update today, but apparently it feels a little bit better. But it is something like you said, we talked about this at the beginning, and we'll get into like the full-on review. It was like, hey, we took the zombies mode. Instead of zombies or ghosts, you move basically the same you did as a zombie, except you're just see-through, and you have that little teleport feature. And it's the exact same game mode. And then there's this weird fear meter thing that was supposed to add a new element that didn't really connect, I feel like, with most players. There's a chance that maybe some of you listening really enjoyed that kind of concept and that aspect of it, but I know like from the streamer side and the like community side, it was like the first time it happened, they were like, what the? And then after that, it was like, this is actually crazy annoying. I'm trying to win this game mode. Overall, I felt, and Doug, I know you and I had similar opinions about it, but overall, the overall community said, hey, this is like somewhat fun. I felt like I feel like it was like a above 5 out of 10, but not too much.
I've gotten the opposite sense from the community, man, because I gave it a 7 out of 10 on Twitter, and now that I've tried to play it more, I think I want to lower that to at max a 6. I'm kind of leaning towards a 5 because, like we just said, it just feels like a rehash that tried to do too much. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you do know, we both know, and we're not ignorant, if they would have done the exact same thing and replaced it with Ghost and did everything of last year's, everybody would have just said, lol, copy paste, devs can't do anything right. So I respect them, and I like that they tried to do something new. I just think that, some of those graphics, like I sent you a link in your DMs for another one you could pull up at the PC blue screen, but some of the graphics just, feel like they aren't done by a AAA studio. There's one where bullets are coming over your screen from all directions, and it just felt like it was like somebody's like a high school project. And that's not throwing any dirt on any devs or anything, but it just felt like some of them were kind of like half baked and thrown in there just to be there. I will say though,
wait, I did not see this tweet.
Yeah, there's
Doug.
there's a PC blue screen one, bro.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Literally
also,
makes you think that your PC crashes.
Dude, Twitter quality is so bad. We'll have to get like actual real clips next time. But like, this is crazy that it actually blue screens your entire screen.
Yep. And that's just one of them. I think there's like 9 or 10 total effects. I know that in my stream, I made sure I got all of them. And that one is sort of okay. There's one that actually pops up and like has eyes that like break glass on the screen. That one actually, I felt like that one's kind of well done. Out of all of them, that's the only one that seems acceptable to me.
Sure.
But really, the problem for me is that it takes something and that's supposed to be fun and it makes it annoying and a nuisance when that was never the concept of the original one. You know, jump scares, of course, they're a bit annoying and a nuisance, but they're not happening every minute. One of the games I ended up at Array fighting 4 teams, right? I had 12 hallucinations in about 2 minutes. And I kid you not, I got off stream after that game. I had a really, really bad headache. Like there was just way too much going on, man. Yes, because not only are they extremely loud audio-wise, but they are also very like. Let's give them credit because last year they did not warn anybody about jump scares and bright lights, flashing lights. This year they did warn people, but it just is overdone at times, and it just doesn't have to be like that. It's a very cool concept, but it needs to be way toned down, and there needs to be more of an incentive to have to go from safe zone to safe zone, because right now, the ghosts aren't even a threat unless that they teleport through you and execute you. If you and your team holds hands, there's no chance a team of ghosts gets you.
Yeah, that's super interesting. You know, one thing that I was thinking about too is like, yeah, you want to make it a battle royale still. You want to make it like similar to the original game mode. But I feel like what was so fun about the zombie mode was that it felt like, and this wasn't necessarily the case, but it felt like no one was dying. So like at the end, it was like a horde of zombies. And in this mode, like, yeah, you can come back if you get a kill or assassination, those kind of things. But in this mode, like, if you die as a ghost, you're out, right? Like, the game's over, like, from everything that I saw.
It's the same way with Zombie Royale.
It's weird. And I wonder what the difference was, because in that mode, I just remember what was so hype about it. Of course, it was new, right? Like, that new factor. We'd never seen anything like it before in Call of Duty. It was like, this is what events are supposed to be like. And then we get kind of this one, which is maybe a little bit just worse version of the zombie one, maybe, but that might be like a not a recency bias, the opposite of a recency bias of like, oh, this is the OG. Kind of like the same thing we've experienced with the Showers Gulag. It's like, oh, the original's the best. And then we get it back and people are like, I hate this Gulag. But
which, by the way, I got to say a complaint about that crap, because I was so excited for the new Showers. And then they still leave a way to do the whole jump up and peek from spawn thing that ruined the original one. Please, Raven, if you were listening, take that out. It's what ruins that entire Gulag, in my opinion. There's no reason off of spawn that you should be able to climb up anything and peek all the way from every angle on the other side. Not only that, but you can't even see through those bars to see if the other guy's doing it. Sorry, I just had to say that because I had totally forgotten that. I was pissed about that.
Yeah, that's the classic Doug rant we are all here for. You don't have to apologize. Yeah, no, I don't know. I just felt like at the end of, I just remember my first game of Zombie Royale, I made it to the end, and it was like, dude, there was like 30 zombies all around me, and it was like something out of you know, Zombieland or like something. It felt so like new and different. In this mode, it just doesn't hit that hard, or it doesn't feel the same.
Atmospheric, man. It made your heart get pumping. The last circle was insanity. And sometimes in these games, it still is. There will be ghosts everywhere and all this, that, and the other. But it's just absolutely, it doesn't give that same feel. Last year's felt like chaos. Controlled chaos to a degree. You know, that last zone took a long time, and a lot of the times what you're worried about at the end of those Zombie Royale games was the zombies and not the other humans. This game is, your only worry is the other humans, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure. No, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. The safe zones were interesting. The ghosts instead of the zombies was interesting. I mean, let's talk about, for instance, this is a little bit outside of the ghost thing, and I know you were talking about some things in this clip. I just wanted to have something up on the screen of like you being in that safe zone, right? That's what that overarching thing is. But let's talk about the jump scares, right? That was part of the thing that they warned everybody about. It was one of the things that everybody loved and hated about the original Halloween event. I've seen some jump scares. I've seen some hilarious clips of those jump scares. Like, what did you think about the opening up the orange box and getting screamed at?
It's not even an orange box. It's a normal box.
Oh, it's only normal box? I thought it was orange boxes only.
That's what I thought, but it's only happened to me 3 or so times. I will say they didn't overdo it with this one. It still is made to be extremely loud. It's not as loud as last year's, so I'll give them that. It didn't make me jump out of my seat. It did make me go like, Jesus Christ. But I would say that they did well with those this year. Even though, like you're saying, you thought it was from orange boxes. I thought it was supposed to be special boxes as well.
Yeah.
I'm about to DM you a clip of an example of a normal box.
Yeah, perfect.
Doing it that I had posted. But the clip that you were actually just showing is something I'd like to talk about because
sure. Yeah.
That was one of the coolest things to me. So if you didn't know, Call of Duty partnered with Scream because they have a new movie coming out, which if you've never seen a Scream movie, please go watch them. They're not the greatest thing in the world, but they are cult classics. And we now have Ghostface, the main villain from Scream,
right,
as an operator. And the cool thing about this game mode is Ghostface is now also the announcer. Well, in the COD blog, they compared camping to cowardice, at least in this game mode. And now I experimented with some things to figure out how it could happen. And camping outside of those safe zones, the sacred zones, he won't say anything about it. But if you sit in those for a while, he has 3 distinct voice lines where he literally makes fun of you for camping. He talks about, this is great gameplay, I'm loving watching this. Or he says, okay, you're going to do it for this circle, but what about the next circle? I really like that. And
cool.
I even tweeted that I hope that they do a little twist of that for the regular game. Like if somebody's sitting still somewhere for so long, have the announcer be like, hey, you're on the game to play it, not to sit in a corner. Stuff like that. If anybody's listening and is a camper, do what you got to do, but don't tell people about it. All right, keep it your own little secret. Oh yeah, here's the jump scare clip.
Okay, we'll pull that up. I'll try to turn the audio down so it doesn't absolutely just.
It's not that bad. I will say I saw a Pro Reborn share his opinion on it, and he got jump scared by one. And of course, it didn't scare him because we're used to it from last year. But He literally starts yelling at his stream. He says, "That's right. You can't get me. It's because I'm desensitized to that shit because of last year." I was like, "You're 100% right, dude. Last year's completely desensitized it to me."
Okay, I'm gonna turn the audio on. I'm hopefully not gonna break our audio ears, listeners. No, it's not that loud. We're fine.
It's not that bad. No, I made sure it was turned down before I exported it.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Jump scares are back, you guys.
That was pretty good. I don't know. I like these little things. I mean, this makes it feel like Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
Scares.
And that was kind of the whole purpose. I mean, if you think to any other game, right? Like, and we can kind of move on to the next topic after this. But like, if you think about any other game that does events, whether it's Overwatch or if it's Fortnite or if it's whatever, those events have to feel unique. It can't just feel like a reskin of the original game. Because that doesn't bring that much hype around the game. And I think that was something that everybody was so excited about the Zombie Royale last year, was that it did feel like a different game. And although the Ghost game is basically a reskin, for some reason it just didn't feel like as unique. And maybe it's because it was somewhat of a reskin, but it just didn't feel as unique to me. And it didn't really captivate me as much as it did Zombies did. I played so many Zombie Royale games last October and going into November, and I played like a couple of the Ghost games just to say I've played it, to be honest.
Yeah.
That felt like because there was general consensus too, to be honest.
That was sad to me too, because we were all. I even watched Iceman. He played it way after we had all first experienced it because he was at work. I even saw him. We were all excited for this event, right? Because this was the best event in Warzone history last year. And I still think that this one is one of the better ones they've done, right? But it's got a lot to live up to because of last year. by your second or third game, you're just sick of it. You don't want to get back on and play it again. And I think that's also why you see a lot of people complaining that we currently don't have a nighttime rebirth and we currently don't have normal nighttime BR, which we're going to talk about that in a minute once we get to the playlist update. But I just wanted to read real quick Raven Software's Twitter update. I don't know why I didn't tweet about this earlier today. I must have missed it. But they did make some adjustments to the Ghost of Verdansk playlist. Ghost can now drop ammo when killed, which is a very good thing. That's one thing that I didn't add to my complaint list, but I was running out of ammo all the time because the Ghost have a good bit of health here. And I'm going to say something about that in a minute too. Souls will be removed when too far out in the gas. So that was one of the things about being a Ghost in this game mode that I thought was too easy. There were souls appearing all the way like back where first zone was, and it was like sixth circle. And you could just go grab them and come back as a human. Way too easy. Passive fear gain has been reduced. That's a very welcome change. Increased fear reduction when killing ghosts and humans. So all of those are welcome changes. And don't get me wrong. But I did see, like, even people are confused about it. Everybody has this feeling of nostalgia from the Ghost of Verdansk playlist last year. And a lot of people don't even remember what it really was. Like, the top reply to Raven Software's tweet, besides me asking them to keep Ghostface as the announcer permanently, is can you make it so ghosts don't perma-die until the beginning of Circle 5 like Zombie Royale last year? That's what Mr. Pro Westy said, a very famous YouTuber for the Battlefield and Call of Duty series. He's just wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about right there.
Well, see, this is what I was saying.
If you died as a zombie, you were dead. That's how it worked last year.
I don't know why it felt like I thought the same thing. That's why I brought it up. It's funny you said that because it's like one of those, what is that called? The Mandela effect?
Mandela effect. Yeah, you guys are really experiencing that.
It feels like that. I remember like so vividly, so many zombies left alive at the end. I was like, this is absurd. Why are there so many freaking zombies? And it was like, oh, if you died as a zombie, like you came back. I don't know why I thought that. That's not the case. You're 100% right now that you said that. But it's so vividly ingrained in my mind that was the case. That's bizarre.
Yeah, one thing that I want to know right now, I'm going to look it up. I might reference this later if I can find the answer to it. But there's a couple reasons now that I'm thinking about it, why that issue is and why it just doesn't have that feeling of chaos. First of all, this mode is limited to, I think, 102 players or something small like that, not the full 150. So that's going to hurt you off the rip. Second of all, this is trios. If I do remember correctly, last year's was quads, meaning you had more of an opportunity to have your team regain and buy you back if you did die as a zombie. So you couple those things sound really, really small until you put them all together.
Yeah.
You put them all together and it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Super interesting. Look, overall, I'm glad they're doing anything. Of course, they're really focused on Vanguard. They're really focused on the Vanguard integration. I'm sure they're working really hard behind the scenes on that. So the fact that they have anything is great. That's fantastic. Of course, we should expect, a lot of them. They are a massive company, but I got to give them a little bit of credit. Like, at least we have something that is different and is new. And there's probably, honestly, a lot of people that are coming to play Warzone that maybe didn't play last year's event and they enjoyed it. So if that's you, if you're on podcast, I guess you can't comment down below. Don't leave a review and say that. I guess go to the YouTube. We're live streaming on YouTube. That's where we do all of our podcasts, as well as all of our recordings for all of our episodes are on YouTube. If you want to see our faces and all the things we pull up on screen, feel free to go over there, drop a subscription, and comment down below. Number one, I want to know if you also experienced the Mandela effect of I swear zombies came back to life, and then what you thought about the Ghost of Verdansk playlist this year and the Halloween event. Because overall, mixed reviews across the board. I would say the competitive scene was like and maybe casual scene was like, oh, it was pretty fun. So I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong, and let me know if you also think, hey, zombies definitely came back last year. Okay, well, Doug, I know you had a couple other things you wanted to talk about. You want to go ahead and jump to the next topic?
Yeah, for sure. I was just trying to see if I could find the actual size. Okay, here we go. Here's the answer. Zombie Royale last year allowed 150 player organized into trios. So we're talking that clearly is, what I wish they would do? And a ton of people even forgot that this ever happened. When you do these seasonal events and stuff, just throw any sense of balance out the window, because this mode is clearly not made to be sweated in. And I understand that. A lot of people were replying to my tweets about it saying, well, this is just for fun. I get it. It wasn't fun, though. No matter how I tried to play it, it wasn't fun. Just say screw it. Make it 200 players. We know you have the capability to. We know that the issues when 200 players were around for like the week it was not server issues. The issues were that the map it was just too much chaos. There was no chance to actually play Warzone properly with 200 people. So it didn't last long. But when you're doing stuff like this, man, just throw all that to the wayside. Just make it pure chaos. And that last circle, I want to see humans fighting the ghost. I don't want to see humans fighting each other.
Sure. Yeah, that's totally fair. I think that would make for a much more kind of spooky and scary experience. Also, just turn down the lighting. Like, let's just make it darker and like throw a flashlight on our gun. Like, that'd be crazy.
That would be dope. That would be dope too. If everybody would just turn their brightness up, but you couldn't complain about it at that point because you're ruining the experience for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, overall, not bad. I'm glad we had something. Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. That's all I got to say.
Just to correct people on one more thing as well. I've seen a ton of people say, why don't we have Rebirth Nighttime? We had it for the whole time last year. You are dead wrong. We actually did not have a Rebirth Nighttime last year. The only time we have ever had Rebirth Nighttime is after the nuke went off in Verdansk. We only had it for one day. One day only, and people swear we had it for 2 weeks last year. Like, I understand you guys have nostalgia when it comes to the playlist, but really just think about it. I mean, if we only got it for one day last year, we're probably still going to get it this year since they already, Rebirth hasn't changed. They figured out how to make it work last year. We're probably going to get it. Everybody's all up on their high horse, though, and upset we don't already have it. But the Halloween event's 2 weeks, y'all. So, we'll talk about another thing with that later once we get to the playlist update. That actually should be our next point of topic.
Sure.
Is the playlist update. So Raven tweeted out today. Today we were supposed to see a playlist update that introduced Iron Trial solos, correct, for the first time? I believe it was Iron Trial solo. They responded to Sparrows earlier in the week and said that it would be coming this Thursday. Well, they actually made a post today and said that they have delayed the update. They said they didn't really give exact reasoning for it. Now, here we go. Put on your tinfoil hats like we like to do around here.
Before the tinfoil hat, technically this week is duos. Solos is next weekend.
Okay.
But it was this whole week that was duos. So it was supposed to be from today. Or it was supposed to be from, today's Thursday. It was supposed to be, I believe, from Thursday to, I guess, Thursday.
It should be two, yeah.
Or maybe Monday. They didn't give us any information.
They have the screenshot of when they plan to do it.
Yeah, and I've got it, but no, I have it. It says week of October 21st. So if it's the week of October 21st, then it technically should have been live the 18th through the 23rd, or I guess, 18th through 23rd, or 17th through 23rd, and it's now the 21st. Yeah, no, that's right.
I think you're misunderstanding because when they say the week of the 21st, that means that's when it's going to start.
Is it?
Like it's 7 days from that day.
Okay, well then it would be the 21st through the 28th.
Yeah, so they're having to delay this one for a little bit.
Okay. Either way, they're having to delay it. I mean, that was the tweet. We can read the tweet out loud. It literally just says, today's playlist update has been delayed as we work to resolve an ongoing issue. No current ETA. We will provide more information as soon as possible.
Yep. And I kind of want to put your tinfoil hats on, everybody. Soon, once we have the YouTube going and everything, we're going to have emotes for moments like these, and you guys can spam tinfoil hats. But go ahead and put them on and listen to me for a second.
Okay, Doug, roll it.
I think the playlist update is delayed because they're having a couple issues getting Nighttime Verdansk regular playlist and getting Rebirth Nighttime playlist implemented without completely breaking the game right now. That's the only reason that I could throw into, because the only other issues that they've acknowledged so far, which we're going to talk about later, is fixing Ghost.
Right.
This has to be one of the biggest things on their mind because this is supposed to be one of the biggest times for them to sell the next Call of Duty. When it comes to the Halloween event and stuff, like this is what they planned their zombies reveal around, all types of different stuff. So they definitely want this to be received well. I do believe that when we do see whatever playlist update is coming, Gojj, if you can you pull up that playlist screenshot for the podcast? And I do believe this was the first week that had a mode that was just covered up, right? With a little orange Halloween thing.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yep. You muted your mic, by the way.
Oh, that's super weird. Okay, there we go. I think it was just for you, but the podcast heard it. But yes, no, the little pumpkin. That's what we talked about last time when we were looking on this kind of screenshot. There's a little pumpkin underneath the October 21st week. So yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
Pretty much confirms what I'm saying. We're getting another Halloween playlist of some sort, and they don't have it ready yet, so they had to push this back. And then we should have. I don't know if it would be the exact same one for the week of October 28th, but I'm just going to speculate here. I do believe we're going to get nighttime Verdansk for sure for normal VR. I believe that. This isn't source-based info, just what I think. But when it comes to, I think that the first week we'll get nighttime Verdansk, and then the second week I think that it'll be nighttime Rebirth.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that would explain the little pumpkin on the screen. Again, if you're looking at the screenshot here, I can't really zoom it in any more than that, but this is week of October 21st. It's got Battle Royale, Solos, Trios, Quads. It's got Iron Trials, 84 Duos, which we don't have. And then it's got Pumpkin just sitting there with an arrow next to it. So, yeah, I mean, what else would it be if it's not the Ghost of Verdansk, which that's already been put into the game?
Yeah, I
would assume that has to be some other, playlist that they're having trouble with. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I like the tinfoil hat. This time, tinfoil hat is maybe a little less tinfoily than usual.
That's my favorite thing. Everybody thinks that my favorite thing is just to leak what I get from people, but my favorite thing is using my brain and putting two and two together, because they leave so many hints throughout their blog posts, throughout their tweets, throughout things that people just seem to ignore. I believe that's exactly why it's getting delayed. Whatever the pumpkin playlist is, whether it's Rebirth nighttime, Verdansk nighttime, or something completely different, it's just not ready. They're just having to fix it that way they don't break the entire game. And they're also dealing with Iron Trials issues, which I think, now that we've talked about the playlist, unless you want to add something else to this. Actually, let's talk about this for a second while we're here. What have you thought about Iron Trials? Since it's not only duos anymore. We've gotten to try quads, we've gotten to try trios. This week's duos, which we've already had, and then we get solos.
So I mean, we've talked about this just forever, right? About how this is like kind of the precursor to a potential, or maybe less than potential, more just like actually gonna happen ranked mode, right? Like that's the whole purpose of testing Iron Trials and making tweaks to it. Like they've made tweaks along the way, kind of actively, about like how much damage sniper rifles do at what ranges. Like the fact that they're actively tweaking it and adding it into private matches certainly kind of proves to some degree that they're going to take this further than just a limited time game mode. And I think that, I don't know, duos felt, what's a good word, I would say duos felt like there was a lot of weight and kind of gravitas to every
decision.
Yeah, like every fight, every decision, every angle that you took. And trios and quads didn't feel that dynamic. I think it still felt good, but it didn't feel as dynamic. And I don't know if duos should be the ranked playlist. Trios felt a little bit better than quads to me. But I don't know. What did you think?
Just in responding to your last thing of saying you don't know if duos should be the ranked playlist, let's be real here. There's going to be a ranked playlist for all four.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't just do one. It's not Apex to where it's 3-man teams no matter what.
Yeah.
I loved quads.
You did?
I also really like trios. I can agree with what you're saying, though. It didn't feel like it had the weight around the opportunity and stuff. It was much easier to get a loadout. All the things that made the original Iron Trials, I don't know. Some people loved it, but I think it just made it annoying to a sense.
Sure, like
if you don't have your
hard
loadout, there's no regain opportunity if you don't have your loadout. There was a lot of things that I would have tweaked about it. The best thing about it is the health. And it seems like the biggest thing that they're going back and forth on about how to make it competitive is the sniper distance being able to one shot. They've adjusted it 3 times now.
Yep.
Other than that, though, I really every iteration of it I've touched, I've loved, and I do think that solos is going to be a smash hit. Yeah, I think it's going to be a smash hit.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to. It's kind of this back and forth counterbalance of like, hey, do we want this insanely intense, honestly insanely difficult playlist where you're playing duos or even solos, which is going to be even more difficult. Solos is already fairly difficult to get a loadout if you really think about it, how much money it takes, right? And so when you expand on that, it makes every decision you take in solos and duos have so much weight to it, and it really kind of heightens this sense of, oh, I really have to focus here and really try. Trios and quads felt a little bit more akin to the regular game mode. I will say it was better than the regular game mode regardless, though. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really matter that it didn't feel as weighty, because it felt a little bit more normal, because you had multiple people like throwing money in, and it moved a little bit quicker. It still was a better game, in my opinion, than their original game, because of the race TTK, because of the different fights you could take, because you could actually get out of a fight out of nowhere, right? Like, there's a lot that goes into it that makes it better, but those are like the main reasons that everybody loves it, is that, hey, look, I can actually fight, and there's some sort of a skill gap, because I'm not getting melted in a millisecond by some random dude with a 0.5 KD mounted up with an MG82 300 meters away that has aim assist.
The most frustrating part for me, I mean, I've tried several times, because there's no better way to work on your positioning and 1v1 gun skill than to play solos. But I cannot stand it. Just encourages camping, man. You can't. There's nothing you can do about it. If there's a guy sitting in a bush with a heartbeat sensor, you're never going to check there. And he almost 100% of the time is going to have ghosts. Which, speaking of ghosts, we're going to talk about that in a second. Solos is a pain in the ass. And I do think that when Iron Trials comes around and adds that increased health pool, you're going to see the best players win solos consistently, and no more of these shitters with 2 kills making it to final circle.
Solos, this will be crazy. Solos,
I think it'll be the most well received.
Watching a professional Warzone player play Iron Trials solos they're going to be fragging. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how many kills they'll end up with. I don't think it's going to be insane, because it's solos. Like, you can only do so much in solos. But I will say it is going to be a demonstration of skill. Like, duos already was, but in solos in particular, when they're not losing a single gunfight and they win 12, 15 games in a row, you're like, oh, this is what actually separates a pro Warzone player from the casual player, or a sweaty player even. You know what I mean? Like, we already saw that from some of the greats in Iron Trials duos. Like, they're dropping big games and they're winning unreal amount of games. And it really goes to show, like, how much a skill gap can actually differentiate, the population that play Warzone. It's wild. Like, no more, like, there's so much fewer times where you're actually dying by somebody that's worse than you. Like, genuinely on paper worse than you, or even worse in that moment. They just got lucky, or the TTK is crazy and you got caught out in the open. Like, I'm reading chat a little bit, and Iceman, Isaac, and Huskers won 12 games in a row of duos. Like, people have done that before in the past, but not at the speed at which they play.
Yeah, absolutely. Love the game mode. I do think that one issue that will arise, I've been talking about it since they first announced that they were, by the way, if you're here and you don't know and you're wondering why every new update nerfs all the guns instead of buffing any, they're trying to lower the overall time to kill in Warzone, or they're trying to raise it so that those moments don't happen. As it stands right now, it is barely above the real-time human reaction time that it takes for a gun to kill you, which means if you don't react before you get shot, you're dead. That's just not a conducive experience in a battle royale to fun, unless it's extremely realistic, like Escape from Tarkov or a PUBG, to where it's a one-shot headshot and you die. But we've seen, as much as Call of Duty fans love to complain about realism not being around, that when the realism battle royale mode drops, where you can play like that they hate it. So I think that one of the issues we will see come out is that people will complain that snipers are OP. And I do think that they're going to have to address snipers in every game mode at some point if they keep raising the TTK of every other weapon. Currently, there's two separate weapon categories that are just unbalanced with the rest in their respective ranges. Number one is the sniper rifles / marksman rifles, and number two is melee weapons. And they don't seem to care to adjust the melee weapons, but by God, I've been seeing people freaking get killed by Cali sticks from 10 plus meters away at this point. Something has to be done about that stuff.
Some Master Chief Energy Sword lunge action. Yeah, the Cali sticks are crazy. I mean, there was a time, if you remember, Iron Trials dropped, where the Cali sticks were unbelievably broken in Iron Trials, and you could double tap people even in Iron Trials with the Cali sticks, which was crazy. But no, yeah, I think snipers need to be fixed to some degree for the longevity of the game, as well as the Kar 98 just in general and the Swiss in general, about how strong those two weapons in particular are, right? Like this Kar 98 has zero flinch when you get shot. I mean, it's so easy to shoot through bullet fire. The Swiss is basically a 2-shot body kill anywhere. Like, those guns are broken and aren't allowed in the competitive scene now in custom games for a reason. So, you know, these are things that the game's going to have to, you know, change and fix going forward into the future. But regardless, interesting concept. I think this is a good time to mention also that, well, you know, like you said, Iron Trials currently not in the game, but also Iron Trials was added into private matches for a hot minute, and it got everybody pumped because everybody wants to see Iron Trials customs tournaments. There's already 3,000, you know, tournaments a week. But give me some Iron Trials tournaments. Now that is content. People will want to watch that.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And that's something that I've been trying to, I wanted to be the first person to do a tournament for it, but it's clearly not going to happen. There's actually one already set up right now. Baka Bros is doing a 40K with eFuse. That's going to be Iron Trials. And if you didn't know, I actually was invited to be a captain in Qualifier 1 of the Last Dance of Verdansk, which is a 3-part qualifier series, which is totaling to $150,000. I didn't show out. I did my thing, though. We consistently, as a team, got 4 to 6 kills every game. Out of all 6 games, we were top 20 every single game. We did okay. But they did say that there's going to be some big game-changing thing that they're going to announce for the finals. I responded to the tweet and said Iron Trials. Somebody else responded to me and said that makes no sense. I think it was Bartnologist. And then Boom TV responded and was like, So, in my opinion, I think they're going to do a massive finale for the Last Dance of Verdansk with Iron Trials.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I think that this is because we know, Gojj, you and I both know that Activision works with all these broadcast companies on how they want these tournaments to be presented and around the timing of them, right?
Right.
I believe that Activision wants their last biggest tournament in Verdansk to be Iron Trials because they're trying to get us ready for ranked.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I mean, you know how many people on the time, like, okay, look, a little bit behind the scenes. I work with tournament organizers quite literally every single day, like every day. And you know how many times people have DM'd them at them on Twitter. Also, your keyboard sounds like you're like holding it up to the mic and like licking it over and over again.
Sorry.
Like it's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull my mic back.
You're good. But anyways, like the amount of DMs and ats they get on Twitter are insane. Like it's crazy. Because everyone wants Iron Trials into customs. Everyone wants to see every single pro player compete in an Iron Trials tournament in customs. And if that's the case, tournament organizers are certainly trying to listen to the public. I mean, if you look at any organizer, they're constantly shifting and changing their rule sets, constantly shifting and changing the format of their tournament based on what the public wants, based on people, you know, the pro scene DMing them, based on people like me who have really plugged into the scene, watching every single event, telling them, hey, this is what community is always talking about, and it's constantly changing. Doug and I made a whole YouTube video on this. Doug and I actually got on a Discord call with Cloudfuel, right, who runs all of the Twitch Rivals tournaments, and we conveyed this information, and he was like, man, the Warzone scene changes like daily for the competitive scene of what they want in a tournament. 'Cause we were talking about bans and all of the format changes, and this is one of those things that has never changed since it was released. Everyone wants an Iron Trials tournament. So if there's a chance that somebody could run a $150,000 Iron Trials tournament, number one, they're going to do it because everyone wants it. So everyone's going to watch it. They're going to get a ton of feedback. They might even get some ROI, which is like basically never seen in the competitive scene. Return on investment, excuse me. And there's going to be, all the competitors are going to be so pumped to play in it. The tweets are going to boom. All of their impressions are going to just absolutely blast to the moon, besides the fact that it's already a $150,000 event. So I don't think you're wrong in any regard. If anything, that really is the only thing that makes sense of what they could theoretically change to make it a more fun and competitive landscape for the players.
Yeah, and while we're talking about this, we've talked about it a lot on the podcast, but private matches have been neglected for the majority of Warzone's history since they released. However, them adding Iron Trials to customs, I believe, is their third ever change to customs. While it has been removed for now to be fixed for some reason, Raven Software also gave us another update today which I'm very glad they did. I usually don't try to take credit for stuff, but I do think my tweet I put out yesterday, it's one of the tweets I linked you to, Gojj.
Yep.
I do think that my tweet actually helped them acknowledge the issue. And I played in that 25K yesterday, and I got to experience it for myself in private matches. I've seen people post the evidence before, but Ghost is busted. Ghost does not work how it should. It'll just not work at all. You'll pop up on people's heartbeat. You'll pop up on UAVs. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. And Raven said today, originally, they said that they're aware and they're looking into fixing this issue. And the most important part is probably the follow-up tweet to that original one. Less than 24 hours after I made that original tweet, Raven came out and said that they are aware that Ghost is not functioning properly in private matches, and they're looking into it. I responded to the tweet. I was like, well, it actually doesn't work in public matches right either. They immediately did another reply to their tweet and said public matches as well. So this will be the fourth time that we've seen Raven do anything with pubs, which is absolutely great. Absolutely great. And really, it's not even a brag for me. It just means the world to me that I can actually like that my influence matters a little bit in getting these issues fixed, man. I hate it for the comp scene. Everything about I really, really, really want to see the comp scene do well for this game.
Right.
Especially moving into the Pacific, because I'm just going to straight up say it. I think the CDL is dead in the water. I don't think that it's going to keep going for multiple years. And
that's a hot take.
tweeted before that Call of Duty was looking into branching the CDL into Warzone. You're muted, by the way. I don't think if you know that. But Warzone is Call of Duty was looking into branching out to the CDL, and they scrapped those plans. So I hope that they take the competitive scene in Warzone seriously, because if they don't, nobody will.
Yeah, no, it's a hot take. And somebody said in the chat, it's not a bad take. I mean, we could talk about that for probably another hour of the CDL scene, where that's going. And I think there are people that we should bring in, to be honest with you. Hey, this is a good future episode right here. Not even going to say bonus content. This is a future episode in the podcast. So if you're going back and listening to old podcasts, you're probably seeing an episode 3 or 4 from now where we're talking to somebody in the CDL scene about this very topic, because I'd be very curious to see people that are very plugged into the scene to see what they think. Somebody that'd be really interesting to bring into the scene, into the podcast, would be I Hold Shift, who runs all the Challenger stuff. He's an incredible caster. He's very plugged into the scene. He would have a lot of knowledge. And then, of course, we can try to go into the actual CDL itself and try to bring either some of the casters in that we have some relationships with, or get with some of the other podcasts that talk about CDL, like The Flank. But regardless, that would be a fun topic. Let's try, as much as I want to talk about the CDL's longevity in the scene.
Yeah.
Let's shift back to Warzone's longevity for just a second and just say, we say this basically every episode because, of course, as a reminder, Doug and I both cast. I've been in casting for over a year now, and I've done thousands of tournaments, not actually, but almost 100 at this point, probably. And we care about it a lot. It's quite literally part of our careers. And if you look at Activision, the amount of money they're pouring into the scene, it's remarkable. I mean, even comparatively to CDL and the amount of money that they put into the CDL, of course, there's a ton of money there. Even some of the other esports, the amount of tournaments that are happening, and a lot of tournaments that you guys don't even know that Activision's actually sponsoring, which is really wild.
Let's take a step back. Let me ask you a question so you can explain to our audience,
okay,
because
sure.
nobody understands besides me and you, because we talk about it behind the scenes. It's not like these are public numbers. It's not like Activision comes out and says we are dumping money into our Warzone tournament scene. But if there's anyone that can explain this to you guys, it's Gojj. So whatever you're comfortable with saying, say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the short version, without going into too many behind the scenes details of the conversations I've had with some of the people that or maybe a little bit higher up than I am, because I'm nowhere near anywhere near the top, is, look, the simple topic is that Activision puts a lot of money into the Warzone tournament scene. Just about any tournament that doesn't have any sort of sponsor, it's Activision. That's all I'll say. If you're watching a tournament happen and it doesn't have any sponsor besides maybe the broadcast host, Activision's putting the money into that tournament scene because the main reason is, hey, they want people to continue to play their game. And when there's tournaments that going on, all of the big streamers that play Warzone come back and play Warzone for that tournament, okay? And it's really important to Activision, which, you know, we talked about this in the past couple episodes. It's really important to Activision to have people playing their game during that event so they can gather up all of those CCVs. They can gather up all of those concurrent viewers during that event of all the streamers participating and say, hey, there's like success here. And it's way deeper than that, of course, but that's like a very basic principle. And so when you have a lot of tournaments going on all the time, and unless it's like, hey, some random, 30 viewer Andy or something like that hosting his own community tournament, or if it's like some, tournament organizer like I don't even want to give a name, but just like say a random tournament organizer that is kind of small and they're hosting a tournament, that might be a buy-in tournament, that might be out of their own pockets. But if you see any large tournament that doesn't have Doritos backing it or Jack Links backing it or whatever backing it, Dollar Shave Club or whatever, right?
EPOS.
Yeah, then that's backed by Activision. And that even goes all the way up to the top with all of the CDL tournaments, of course, the $100,000 events, as well as Twitch Rivals and World Series of Warzone, obviously, like millions and millions of dollars at this point. And
the important takeaway for that, to me, for all of our casual listeners, I apologize for interrupting you, but me and you are so invested in the scene that we could talk about it forever. But I think that the real important point to make to people is that I have personally been wondering how the hell these tournaments and production companies are able to do $15,000, $25,000, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 tournaments every day. Gojj has just answered that question for all of you.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
If there's not multiple name sponsors or ad broadcast throughout the thing, or if you see them thanking Activision at the end of it, the tournament's being covered by Activision.
Yeah, I'll say oftentimes we don't even people don't even do that. I'll say that. That's the kind of last thing I'll say about it. But yeah, if you see somebody running a $10,000 tournament every third day, it's probably because Activision handed them $500,000 and said, hey, run 50 10K events. Like, that's a bit of exaggeration, but you get the idea. So anyways, all that to say,
a lot of money being thrown around for them to not act like they care. That's what we're really getting at.
Exactly. And what my conjecture is, the tinfoil hat that you and I have talked about on stream and off stream, is that there is a potential for, whether or not it's the CDL being implemented into Warzone or vice versa or whatever, there is a potential for custom games and the tournament scene in general to be taken much more seriously once the Vanguard integration comes into play. I've had certain conversations with people saying, hey, most likely, if not, I'm wink, wink, hint, hint, like this is happening, that a caster observer mode will be added into private matches once Vanguard gets implemented. They're focusing on Vanguard. Once that's implemented, they're really bolstering that whole scene because they know how valuable it is. Those are some of the things that do make sense based on the amount of money being poured into it.
I will say, even from a 99.9% stance, that my sources corroborate what Gojj is saying. I'm not going to 100% it because that's the worst thing I can do, be in Modern Warzone. No, if anything ever changes. But seriously, they are going to make it better. I think that I want to move on from this topic after this last statement from both me and you. I think, even though people can say what they want about BR's not being competitive, Warzone's not competitive, I think if Activision truly chooses to focus on their custom game mode, even past anti-cheat, like, people are going to really be going back to 2v2s. But I think that this would be the #1 watched and followed first-person shooter esport outside of Counter-Strike and Valorant. Like, and it wouldn't even be close if they had a proper caster mode. Like, seriously, that's all it takes. Yeah, really all it takes.
Yeah, the amount of viewers that theoretically watch it, and if you were to actually, like, we don't have to go deep into this, but like, and if you were actually able to like implement a system where like the streamers weren't streaming and it was just the main broadcast, you would bring in, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of viewers, because everybody that wants to watch their favorite streamer would have to watch the main broadcast. I mean, if you watch ALGS, like if you watch the Apex like league, the pro league, like that, of course, like that's what's going on. Their main broadcasts do pretty well, tens of thousands of viewers, because none of the players are allowed to stream because it's technically an official league like the CDL, etc. So anyways, there's a lot that goes into that conversation. We kind of got off topic, but this is what we do.
No, we're good. And like, thinking about like moving back from when Fortnite had their World Series, right? And they bought 100 players into a LAN environment in a stadium. I watched that, and I didn't even care about Fortnite. I watched Booga, a 16-year-old, win millions of dollars. I'd never heard of his name in my life. it does not matter whether people meme your game or not. When you do a big in-person LAN event like that with all that money on the line, I mean, that Fortnite thing, every time I turned it on, had 700,000 plus viewers.
Yeah,
it was just insanity. So Activision has to realize that they have the same opportunity. COVID just got in the way of it in a big way, in my opinion. And I do think that if the CDL does merge, and this is my last thought, CDL does ever expand into Warzone, which even Crim 6 has hinted at this being a thing on the Flanks podcast. I do think that we would start seeing a lot more LAN events, and I am here for it, baby.
Shut
the accusations up.
I've done one Warzone LAN event, and it was a smaller event, and it was the most electric experience of my entire life. Like, I loved it, man. I thrive
I wish I
in
could
LAN.
have been a fly on the wall, seeing players react after they team wipe people, dude. It just would be lit.
Yeah, well, and like, if you think for a second that Activision could throw a $1 million tournament, like
you chump change. You guys have no idea.
Well, we've already done it with World Series of Warzone. I think we're over $1 million already, right? Did I do the math right?
Yeah, each one is 300K, and then they add the 100K for the YOLO solo now. Yeah, and they're on the third one.
So boom, there we go, and we still got more coming. Like, all I'm saying is, like, is totally doable, and theoretically it could be coming. Get ready for the Vanguard implementation. As long as there's still a lot of hype around Warzone, a lot of people playing Warzone, and the biggest streamers in the not the biggest streamers, but some of the biggest streamers in the FPS scene still cranking a lot of Warzone. Whew, those LANs are going to be sick. And it's going to be a really, really fun main broadcast.
It's going to be insane.
All right, we got one more topic.
Can't wait to be at a LAN with you in person, dude. It's going to be lit.
It's going to be awesome. One more topic. This was a really crazy one. Something that, like, I think I never knew it was this insane. I knew stream snipers were a problem, but this is kind of like recent news as of literally today. This was announced in Showcase off of FIFA Kill's stream. And I'm just going to read Doug's tweet. I'm going to put it up on the page for you if you guys are watching it on YouTube. According to the stream sniper who was trying to ruin FIFA Kill's day, he has a list of people he's being paid to harass, and one of the bounties on Mutex was worth £5,000, which equates to somewhere around almost $7,000, to make him end his stream or switch games.
Yep. I can't believe as I was typing the tweet out, I was DMing with FIFA Kill, and he sent, like, that's one of the only screenshot I posted. This dude sent me like 12 different things of what this guy was saying in chat. And I understand that people on Twitter are like, do you just believe everything you read on Twitch these days? No. This guy, okay, let me explain something to you guys, right? This guy was trolling FIFA, right? He stops trolling FIFA after these tweets go out. He immediately moves on to Tim the Tatman and is in Tim the Tatman's YouTube chat and is in his game killing him. This is real. Like, this is really real. I am currently working right now. I don't know. I'm going to say it. I'm working right now to get moles in that Discord. I have moles in so many cheating Discords. You guys have no idea. A couple months ago, I tweeted that I was making it my personal goal to be like the not realistic anti-cheat for Warzone. I currently have a list of 115 cheat providers, and like, this is the craziest thing I've read out of all of it. I just want to put in perspective for you guys how much money that is to just kill somebody. And I want to ask you, the people at home, this is not for you to answer Gojj or for any, it's just for if you're listening to this podcast. If you're already a cheater, right, and somebody offered you $5,000 to go kill this guy, are you going to go do it? My answer is yes. I don't care how good of a person I am. I don't care how good of a person I am. I am getting that bag. The real question is, who in God's name is spending $5,000 to ruin somebody else's day?
Dude, that's crazy. And the goal, quite literally, is not to just kill him so many times, right? Kill him so many times that they literally change games or turn off the stream. They get so tilted that they turn off the stream. And I guess there's some weird, like, sadistic mindset of like, oh, exactly. I ruined their day. I have control over my life. Like, what? Honestly, it's kind of sad, first and foremost. It really is. Like, the people that are paying that amount of money really are sad, and I'm sure they honestly probably need to seek help. And I'm being like not even facetious
No,
about that at all, right?
serious.
Like
They
that
have
is
issues.
really really sad because that is a ton of money. There are people that would do crazy things for $6,000, especially if you're in a place where you're not really comfortable financially. Like that's a lot of money, and it's kind of like, it sounds weird to say that like it's life changing, but it theoretically could be, especially if you're behind on bills or whatever. Like, and people are casually getting paid $6,000 or almost $7,000, $6,800 to go stream snipe and cheat in a video game to kill a streamer to try to tilt them so bad that they turn off their stream. That is wild.
That's insane. That's insane. Now, for the record, disclaimer, there's no way we can confirm this until I can get in the Discord and see these things for myself, or maybe speak to one of these guys, which I really don't have any want to do so. But since putting those tweets out and it's gotten publicized, Jake Sucky and Esports Report have covered it. Of course they have. I have seen that same guy I hack for the win in a clip killing Mutex multiple times, and then Mutex got off the game. I've also seen where the same guy that is in FIFA Kills chat, the T Lex Gaming, whatever it is, he ended up in Tim the Tatman's YouTube, like I was saying later. Tim and them, since it's Tim, there's always someone from Raven watching. Got that guy live banned in the game. He was back the next game. Almost same name and everything.
No chance.
No shot. Like, no lie. That really happened today. And that was after this news was published. So, really, man, it's just since getting in the content creation space and quote unquote blowing up, I just have realized there are some sick people out there, man, that just don't belong in regular society. And this is a perfect example of that. Not only for the guy who is in this Discord to take these bounties, as they call it, but more so for the people, unless the only way I can rationalize this in my head is like people in our YouTube live chat are saying, is if the cheat companies that these cheaters are using to go find these streamers, end up in their servers and kill them when they want, are using this as a way to pay for free marketing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
5K, go kill this big guy on his stream, make sure that he starts complaining about hackers.
Yeah.
I could see it then. Now, let me find out. Let me get one of these moles in these servers and let me find out that it's the cheat owners that are doing this. Oh, buddy. I'm just telling y'all, man. Y'all might not be getting sued. You might not be going to jail, but y'all shit is smoked. Y'all shit is smoked. Now, one thing that we're not going to talk about in the podcast because we just don't have time for it today. The anti-cheat was leaked. Activision responded, and Activision said that they sent it out to controlled third-party companies as they would do for any testing phase. They didn't respond to the leaked fact, but the fact that it's already in cheat providers' hands is in and of itself a leak, whether it came from Activision or their studios or it came from one of the third-party companies. They did not. I see a lot of people reporting they intentionally gave this to cheat companies. That is not what happened. But the fact is Activision seems like they're playing chess while the cheat companies are playing checkers, because they were all so excited about this being reported. Activision responds and says they're aware of this, and this actually gives them a foot up on the cheating companies to say, because if they're actually reverse engineering this right now, Activision can see what they're doing and counteract that on the real release. I just wanted to throw that in there because that was one of the biggest breaking stories of this week. And IGN, you should be ashamed of yourselves for putting out misinformation the way you have. I have called you out on Twitter. I'm going to call you out on this podcast. It is, excuse my French right here. I want to say that word. It is disgusting to see one of the biggest video game publishers in the industry write an article that properly covers a story and then just completely ignore all the facts that they've written about and make a graphic sourcing the original guy, misquoting him, mischaracterizing what he said, and straight up putting false information on the timeline. And I tweeted about that and said they did it for engagement. Tom Henderson writes for them now. He responded and said that's not what it was. It was a mistake by the social media teams. Today, it is still on Facebook with 140,000 likes. I complained about this 3 days ago. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. You have 9 million Twitter followers, and I don't think you understand what it does to people in the Call of Duty community who are actually trying to spread positive and real news to get the player base excited. But you saying that has basically convinced the entire world that hackers have already won before the anti-cheat has even come out, and that is not the case. The hackers actually lost. They took a L when it came to that story. Enginoting was all over Twitter. Oh, we've already got it. This was made by fourth graders. Well, psych. They did delete the tweet, but there is also, it took them a whole nother day to delete it from Instagram, all that stuff. Once you put fake news and misinformation out there, nobody goes and looks at the edit or the update or where you fixed it. And I would know this because I delete my tweets all the time when I share things that aren't 100% correct. And people come at me 3 months later saying, didn't you say this? Didn't you say this? It's really hard to report things 100% correct, but you are the biggest gaming publisher in the world. It is disgusting. Sorry.
I mean, fair enough. You know what I mean? Like, fair enough.
That was the entirety of that subject covered before we moved on to the final topic. I just knew I had to throw that in there because for some reason I didn't. I forgot that all of that happened since our last podcast.
Yeah. No, it's been a crazy week. I mean, we recorded the last episode a little early and this one a little bit late. So we've got a lot of time in there. And yeah, the anti-cheat, quote unquote leaked, all this good stuff that Doug was talking about. If you want more information on that, certainly just do some quick Google searches. There's plenty of articles out there.
Go to ModernWarzone.com. We covered it properly. We spent our
Exactly.
time and made sure we waited. That's why we hired Maverick. Maverick is going to cover the anti-cheat for us. That is actually the last story we've published. So if you want to see the real facts, ModernWarzone.com. I'm doing my best. See, even though I'm not informed enough about the subject to write about it, I'm finding people who are, and Maverick knows what he's talking about.
Exactly. Well, Doug, take us in. Last topic of the day. We've kind of covered most of what we wanted to talk about. I know there's one more topic we want to cover before we finish the stream today. Again, if you guys are listening on the podcast platforms, make sure you leave a review. It's really helpful. If you're on the YouTube, make sure you like the actual video that you're watching currently. That would be super amazing. And also subscribe to the channel. We also have a shorts channel, by the way, down below in our kind of main feed of the YouTube. You'll see it, shorts channel featured. Go subscribe to that. We're pushing out shorts as regularly as we possibly can. Somewhere around 5 videos a week. So definitely go check that out. They're all clips from the podcast, little bits and bites of things we've talked about, and we're making TikTok pages and all that kind of stuff as well. So thank you guys again for being a part of the stream and supporting us in all the different ways. But Doug, take us in. Last topic of the day. What do we got?
We're going to get into the debate that has been happening all over the timeline because Dr. Disrespect lost his mind yesterday.
Oh, God.
I kind of, I'm actually excited to talk about this because I haven't talked about it a lot. The debate is aim assist versus mouse and keyboard versus any other platform versus no aim assist. And Dr. Disrespect put out a tweet and he said that it's insane that I have a $300,000 PC and it can't do anything against aim assist. And of course, that is facetious, just obviously in the way that he put it. Nick Merckx responds, right? And we're not esports news, so this isn't just streamer news, but this everybody's talking about it now again. I hadn't seen this conversation in a minute.
Right.
Nick Merckx responds, and he says, which I'm sure if you just scroll down a little bit, it'll be the top response. But he says, "Then switch to controller, pussy." And you can see my response right there. My opinion is that the entirety of Call of Duty, and I got so many responses to that calling me stupid. Listen, if you're listening to this podcast, I owned Call of Duty on PC. I understand that it originally came out on PC. I think what you're lacking is the understanding that every game, when it first gets started, comes out on PC first because it is the easiest to develop video games for. It doesn't require multiple different ports, doesn't require all this different stuff. You build it there, you see if it works, you expand to console and other places later. At least that was the philosophy back then. Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty Big Red 1 are when it majorly got adopted by consoles, and its sales numbers went through the roof. Call of Duty has, not always, but it has, and it always will be a controller and console gamers game. And the fact that crossplay came, this is the one thing that I'm going to refute anybody's statements who's upset about that is blackout lobbies on PC were dead within 3 weeks. Could you imagine if Warzone came out and it was console exclusive? If the lobbies were dead in 3 weeks? Everybody would lose their minds, Gojj.
Yeah. No, I 1000% agree. I mean, look, if you look even at just, CDL was on consoles for the longest time, right? I guess it wasn't technically CDL, but Pro Call of Duty,
Yes.
right?
And they all still played controller this year on PC.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a whole conversation to be had about aim assist. There's a whole conversation to be had about how strong it is in the game. There's probably a conversation to have and probably some merit to the fact that it's very, very powerful, right? It's something that is worth looking at, especially like aim rotation and like strafing while the aim assist that you get when strafing. Like, we've seen plenty of videos that are like, whoa, that's a lot. But I don't know. It's one of those things, like, if you look at and I think, Doug, you and I actually had this conversation maybe off stream, I can't remember, but if you look at the highest, let's talk about Warzone, because that's really what we focus on. If you look at the highest level Warzone players, how many of them play mouse and keyboard, especially when you look at the earnings list and you look at in particular,
there's like 3 of them.
Yeah, when you look at in particular tournament standings, just in general, the amount of players that play with a controller versus the amount of players that play with mouse and keyboard is not even close to comparable. You can obviously think of the greats. You can think of Huskers. You can think of your hybrid Iceman Isaac. Of course, everybody thinks of him. And you're going to think of Symphony. Other than that, people are going to start evading your mind.
Mouse and keyboard, right?
There are
one thing
others.
that I'll say, Reed Boy still plays on console and wins money in tournaments. So.
Sure. All I'm saying is that the people that come to mind are like, yeah, Huskers has a lot of money, has made a lot of money in this game playing mouse and keyboard. He has insane aim. He's known for that. Symphony, although doesn't play tournaments anymore, has insane aim and is discussing at this game. Cloaksy as well. Like, that's 100% the case. Like, these people are really talented playing mouse and keyboard. But if you look at the players that are at the top, most of them are controller for a reason.
I'm going to throw Dracoda in the conversation too, because I met him about a year ago now. He originally was mouse and keyboard and was a goat at it. I watched this guy switch to controller, start frying lobbies within a week, and he hadn't played controller in 4 or 5 years. I will say this. There is 100% an advantage to using a controller in Warzone. I'm not going to deny that fact. And the 100% biggest advantage lies with being on PC with the ability to play at 120 FOV and having aim assist with a controller. I agree. Absolutely. Nobody on a console and nobody on a mouse and keyboard has the same advantages that you do in that situation. What I will say is I've been a console player my whole life. I've also been very, very in touch before Modern Warzone with social media and Reddit and every other gaming community you can think of. I used to be on the cheatcc.com forums talking about video games. I have watched PC gamers my entire life say that when crossplay happens, that our aim assist would never save us and that they would clap our cheeks. And to me, it is absolutely hilarious to watch them lose their mind. I have all the respect in the world for Doc. If I ever met him in person, nothing but firm handshakes. I know he's playing a character, but he is legitimately angry about aim assist. And Doc, first of all, you have no right, sir. You worked for Call of Duty. You were a level designer on Advanced Warfare. The game had aim assist. I don't know what to tell you, brother. Aim assist is a real thing. It's a thing that we absolutely need to compete with you guys. There are multiple games out there that have proven this. I remember when PUBG released for Xbox One.
Oh, God, yeah.
And PUBG was the first game that most of us, and Rainbow Six Siege as well, I believe, does not have aim assist. I remember from playing that. That was the first game, I think, in my life I had played on controller without aim assist. And let me tell you,
it's awful.
Aim assist helps us a lot.
And I want to add in here, too, like, this is
not even fun to play without it, though.
Right. Well,
it's really not.
I don't think there's ever anybody that's saying there shouldn't be any aim assist. It's always about the strength of aim assist. And I think there's a conversation, like we've mentioned, to have about should aim assist strength be lowered to some degree. And I think there probably is a little bit of merit to that if you're trying to balance out the game in the way it quote unquote is the most fair for mouse and keyboard players versus controller players. Because we all know, I mean, I've watched Ice, and I love bringing up Iceman Isaac. You and I are both friends with him. He's the only true hybrid player that I know. There's other people that are good on both inputs. Dracoda is pretty good on both inputs.
Tommy.
Yeah, I was going to say Tommy's even good on both inputs. But Iceman, we've said this, changes inputs mid-tournament because he snipes better with a mouse and key, like with a mouse, right? Totally makes sense. You can click
Anybody
ahead.
would.
Yeah, you click ahead and like you're gonna take him down. It's way easier at long range. And then when he starts getting into smaller circles and isn't sniping anymore, playing with an AR, he's using a controller because the aim assist is very, very strong in the close range category in particular. So there's obviously, benefits to both. Teep is another one. Thank you, chat. I appreciate that. That can play both very, very well. And I'm sure there's others out there, but but like there's advantages to both, but I think there is a case to be made. You could maybe lower it a little bit to try to balance it out a little bit. Maybe there'd be more people playing mouse and keyboard that are still near the top of the Warzone category. But right now it's mostly dominated by controller players.
Let's be real. It's not 100% of the time the aim assist is an advantage either. There's several times, even before Warzone, where aim assist has lost me fights when there's multiple enemies close to each other on my screen. It just won't let me pull to the other guy, Like I need to shoot this other guy first, but I literally am stuck to this other guy because of aim assist. Or it'll, like, a guy will sprint by while you're fighting somebody and it'll grab it. This has always been a problem. I've never seen people so up in arms about it as they are today. And I just genuinely, if you could pull up the last tweet that I sent you.
Sure.
This guy that I took a screenshot of and posted about is 100% serious. And this guy is a legitimate aim trainer. He has trained Fortnite World Cup champions and all the like. Like, he has been around for a while based on what I could gather about him. And I think he's being dead ass serious. He says, recently, cheating controversies have arrived in every first-person shooter with crossplay, mixing controllers and mouse and keyboard, because of controller converters boosting aim assist, like the Zen. I'd like to remind everyone that aim assist alone is already cheating, with or without Zen. And I would just like to tell this gentleman, I don't care how long you've been doing this for. I don't care how well known you are. I don't care what your pedigree is. You are spewing absolute bullshit. How is something that we have no control over, that has been in every console game that we've played in our life, and me and Gojj literally just named the only two I can think of without aim assist, unless you turn it off yourself. How is that cheating? It's not cheating. There needs to be some type of a level playing field in these crossplay games. And if you go back and look at, like, Overwatch, I used to spam Overwatch ranked play because I wanted to be the best of the best. The best of the best were using a software that allowed them to use mouse and keyboard on console. Like, our aim assist does not just win us gunfights by itself. It just does not. It also takes player skill, takes good movement. There is a million other things that you have to think about in this conversation. And to liken using aim assist to cheating is just wrong. There is no comparison. I mean, yeah, you could say it's like a soft aimbot that locks on there. Shut up. Shut up. It's not cheating, though. Like, we're going to take every advantage we can get. Just, all right, let me say this. If you're on PC and you're not playing on default FOV, that's cheating.
Yeah, look. We could go down this rabbit hole forever. I think it's totally fair to say that you could scale down aim assist a little bit to try to make it a more balanced game. Of course, aim assist is not cheating. If you have ever played on a controller, it's essentially impossible to be as minutely accurate as it is on a mouse and keyboard. I've literally even seen people, this is hilarious to add into the conversation, I've seen people use a mouse in one hand and a controller for movement in the other hand. Have you seen that, Doug?
No, you're kidding me,
no,
right?
I'm dead serious. I promise you. They're using a mouse in one hand and like half a controller in the other hand. It's crazy. I'd have to I'll pull up a video. It's like not, obviously, it's not like efficient. Like, there's no way this is like a valuable like thing to do. But you can Google it yourself. You guys can Google it if you're a podcast. Look for mouse and controller players, and you can find probably some Reddit posts about people doing it. It's actually super wild. I don't really know why they do it. I guess it's for like the movement of the stick feels more comfortable. It's kind of like playing with a joystick, sort of. Like there's Razer mouses that have joysticks, and people are like more comfortable using a joystick for movement, and the aim is with the mouse because you can click heads. I don't know. Hey, look, we're going for every single. Oh, the keyboard, not the mouse. That's right.
There's less inputs required with a controller to slide cancel around.
Yeah. Movement can be potentially a little bit easier on controller. But all that to say, definitely a conversation to have. What's interesting too, like I'm really excited about the Scuffed podcast. Apparently Train's been talking about bringing on a lot of controller and mouse keyboard players for a long time, bringing them on the podcast and having a huge debate. I would love to listen in on that. We'll have to link, if that ever does happen, we'll link it back in the show notes here if you're listening back for this specific piece of this episode. But it'll be comedy watching Train trying to delegate a conversation between these different players.
Train doesn't know how to delegate. Look, I love Train. Train follows me on Twitter. I've disagreed with a lot of things the guy's done, but there is no such thing as Train delegating anything. He's gonna stir that pot until it explodes.
Right. Oh my gosh.
I want to bring up to just in the conversation that there are controller players out there who knowingly play with aim assist off. His name's Reboy. He still plays on console on ADFOV, and he will still dominate 99% of mouse and keyboard players with aim assist off. There's also a guy who goes by the name of Gagad. He hasn't played Warzone much anymore, but when he was playing, he was placing top in tournaments. This dude is a PUBG pro on console. I've watched him play PUBG. There is no aim assist, if you were wondering. Dude hits all his shots. I just think that this whole debate is blown out of proportion, and I can't put the blame on anybody else besides Dr. Disrespect at this point. Because he honestly loses his mind about it, and I get it's his character, but he takes the character antics from that to Twitter, and this fuels all the uneducated people to talk on the subject.
Yeah.
And I don't agree. Like, Doc, I'm sorry, but you're not on the same level as Call of Duty pros.
Yeah.
And the last thing too is that I have seen Scump. I've seen all of these other CDL pros who have been using aim assist their whole life move over to Valorant and make it in the highest ranked league of Immortal in a month. Do you know how hard that is to do? Like, I played Valorant for about 2 months. That is incredibly difficult to do. These guys are just talented. Learn how to respect people, regardless of the platform or the controller or mouse and keyboard they use. Just respect people.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you isolated people outside of social media and asked them the question, hey, do you think that, Tommy is talented at controller? If you think that Noobs is talented at the game, like, outside of being funny or trolling or trying to gain impressions, like, they're gonna say yes, of course he is. Like, I mean, he's at the top of the leaderboard for a reason. Like, he's at the top of the earnings list for a reason. So all that to say, look, really fun conversation. This conversation, look, it will always be around. There will always be people complaining about aim assist. There will always be people saying that controller players are king or mouse and keyboard players are king. It will always be the case. It's not going anywhere, and it's always going to be a fun conversation. As much as we want to rage about it and comment on how people always stir the pot, it will be the pot will be stirred for the next 10 years. Unless we all switch to VR and start playing a Beat Saber every day, it's always going to be around. So still, regardless, hilarious. A lot of COD news for you guys today. Look, I love this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I feel like we've touched a lot of different topics today. We went on more of the news side than usual, but that's because, hey, all we really had to talk about was Halloween and custom game stuff. But if you guys liked it, again, like the video, subscribe, do the things, download the episode on the social media platforms or on the podcast platforms, and thank you guys for the support. We really appreciate it. We are nearing up on 500 subscribers on YouTube. Our last video did so well with the anti-cheat. Of course, everybody wanted to hear that. We were the top Twitter space for like an hour, which was crazy. And so all the support you guys have shown us across the board has been awesome. So thank you again. If you're in the Twitter space currently, or if you're on YouTube, or if you're on the podcasting platforms, thank you for listening. Doug, let's close it out. Where can people find you? What you got going on? Anything new this upcoming next 2 weeks?
Actually, you guys can always find me on Twitter at Doug Dagnabbit. You can find me on YouTube at Modern Warzone, where I hardly ever upload. You can find me on Twitch at Modern Warzone Live, and you always know you can find me at Modern Warzone. I have 2 exciting updates. This time tomorrow, I should be the number 2 followed unofficial Call of Duty account in the world, which is absolutely insane to me. That's really insane to say, and we've accomplished this goal. By we, I mean me and the people who originally gave me the idea to quit my job to go full-time with this, and help me build my website, all the other things that have helped me get to this point, and the people who have supported, like you just said. Thank you guys so much. But in a matter of less than 2 years, we've become basically one of the biggest Call of Duty sources in the world. Just absolutely insane to say. And the last thing I want to say is that tomorrow I'm doing my very first charity stream. something I've wanted to do for a long time, but just haven't been able to solidify things. I'm working with Gamers Outreach. Gamers Outreach works with a ton of reputable streamers, companies, everything, nonprofit organization, and what they do is they supply Children's Hospital with what's called go-karts. The go-kart is a mobile gaming station that includes a monitor, a console, multiple different consoles, and controllers attached to it. So obviously people who go to the hospital don't just steal them. And it is used in children's hospitals, and there's a children's hospital close to me that I really would like to benefit that with. I've been there myself when my wife was having our children, and seeing their sections for like the kids, and this is a cancer hospital, and there's just not enough for them to do, man. I lost my mother to lung cancer, and she was the strongest woman I ever knew in my life, and I watched the pain and everything that she had to endure. And to think about some of these kids, under the age of 10, even it doesn't matter. Anybody that has cancer and is going through treatment, or anybody who is going through childhood illness that causes them to be in a children's hospital, I would like to do everything in my power to help them as much as possible. So I would really like to see anybody who's listening to this show up tomorrow, and even if you can't donate, just hang out. That live viewer number, the number of people hanging out, the number of people engaging in chat will help encourage others to donate. 100% of donations will be going to this. We're not going to get on the subject of that drama from this week, but I just am very, very thankful to be in this position. Our goal is $5,000, and I do think with the size of Modern Warzone that I set the goal a bit low. So I really, really, really would like to see us meet that goal. It's probably the most important thing to me that I've ever done since I've started this account. But that's awesome. It for me, Gojj.
No, that's awesome. I don't even really want to follow that up, because that was really really cool. I will be there for sure. I would really appreciate you guys to go support Doug and what he's doing with that charity stream. I think we could absolutely blow $5,000 out of the water. But if we get to 5,000, like, that's an amazing goal. And if you guys were able to donate, have some free cash laying around, maybe there's $1 in your drawer, and you're like, yeah, I could theoretically PayPal $1 and then pocket this. Like, that would be amazing. Like, even just $1, $5, etc. is huge. It's huge, because a lot of people can come together and donate $5, and we're already there, right? Doesn't take that many people.
Absolutely.
You can do the math.
Mean, if I somehow convinced every single follower I have to come and donate 50 cents, we would have raised $200,000.
Yeah, that's crazy. Absolutely insane. So anyways, thank you, Doug, for doing that. I'm really excited for it. You guys know where I'm at GrandmasterGojj, all the major socials. Twitter is kind of where I live and thrive. Tournaments all across the board. I'm actually out of town next week, by the way, so Doug and I are going to figure something out for the podcast. I am out from Tuesday to, I believe I come back Friday. I'm out in South Dakota for a little family trip kind of thing. So that'll be cool when I come back. I'm going to be doing all kinds of stuff. Warzone, of course, casting thousands of tournaments, I'm sure, as well as I've been hitting New World pretty hard. And some content kind of coming for New World. New World content that is maybe never before been seen. There was actually a Twitch Rivals New World tournament today, which is kind of crazy.
I saw that. I also saw Doug is Raw somehow didn't end up in that. What the hell?
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyways, New World content, as well as, of course, sticking with Warzone and what I do best, which is commentate tournaments. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Doug, thanks for, of course, being here. Viewers, listeners, whoever you are, amazing people that we know and love, thank you for listening and supporting us. That's all we got for this episode. We love you all, and we'll see you guys next week.